Hey guys, welcome to Made by BritSie episode 11. I'm Brittany and this is my podcast where I share with you everything that I've been knitting and sewing in the past couple of weeks. So lately this has been a every 2-week podcast. Is that bi-weekly? I think so. Bi-monthly? No, bi-weekly. That's the schedule I'm aiming for. I'm hoping to stick to that. I feel like that works well with my schedule, and I feel like it keeps me at the 30-minute mark as far as length for podcasts. Somehow the content I have to share always falls within the 30-minute mark, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for. So I'm Brittany, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry at MadeByBritSie. And I just want to say hi to the new subscribers that I have. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy. And thank you for finding me in the sea of podcasters. So I will just jump right into what I've been working on. So the first project I have to share with you guys is this hat that I just started last night, actually. Well, kind of. I'll get to that in a minute. But this is the Bumble hat by Tin Can Knits. It's nothing crazy. It's really just a basic like ribbed hat with a little bit of interesting texture. You can't. I'm only a couple rows into the pattern, so you can't really see it that well. But so far I've done the ribbing, and then I think I'm like 3 rows into the pattern. So if this looks familiar, it's because last week this was the Koba cat by Caitlin Hunter, and that's a sad story. I think I was about 10 rows into the pattern whenever I showed it last time, and I thought it was going really good, but I'll try to make this explanation fairly quick. So this is a sort of sad story. This was the Koba cat, and it has since been frogged and turned into the Bumble hat. So I am a left-handed knitter. I know some people call themselves left-handed knitters, but they really mean, I forget if it's English style or continental style that means you knit left-handed, but I'm left-handed, and I knit left-handed. So anyway, most of the time it's not a problem, but when it comes to cables, it is a problem. So I kind of forgotten when I first started knitting. One of my first projects, which was way too ambitious for me at the time, was a pair of cabled mittens, and the cable was just kind of disappearing into the pattern, and I couldn't figure out why, and I just chalked it up to, well, I'm a new knitter and I'm probably doing something wrong. I'm normally not drawn to patterns with cables, so it hasn't been an issue since, but I didn't even realize the Koba cat, just a couple of the stitches, you have to use a cable needle to change the direction. So that posed a problem. So I realized that the pattern was just not popping out like it was supposed to. And I'm like, here we go again. So I ripped it out like several times, kept trying different tweaks to figure out what I was doing wrong. Like if I need to knit the pattern from right to left instead of left to right, or if I need to just flip-flop the direction of the cable stitches, like when they call for a right-leaning cable, do a left, and vice versa. I tried a few different things. I found a website that kind of goes into a little detail about how to do cables or how to read a chart if you're left-handed and knitting cables, and nothing just seemed to work. And actually, in retrospect, it might have been fine. And I think I was looking at the project pages for some of the hat for other people that had knitted the Koba cat, and I also noticed, kind of depending on the yarn that you used, theirs weren't always popping out either. So I just wasn't happy with it, to make a long story short. So it's very frustrating to rip out mohair that many times. It gets knotted up. I don't know how I didn't rip this yarn. I this poor yarn had a lot of frustration taken out on it. But now it's going good. It's smooth sailing. This is going to be a super relaxing, easy knit. And yeah, so I'll just show it one more time. It's nothing to write home about yet, but I think it's a nice pattern. And guys, I totally lost the tags for both of these yarns. And I showed them on the last podcast, so I think I'll just look back and put the information here. But I can't find the tags anywhere. This is Shibui, their mohair yarn. It's the mineral colorway. I do remember that. Yeah, beautiful, lovely, soft mohair. And then this one is, I think it was Angora, or I could be making that up, or alpaca. But I do remember the colorway of this one. This was No-Buck. And because I thought it was funny that I was knitting the Kobuck hat and the No-Buck colorway. But yeah, it's just a nice neutral yarn, kind of out of character for me. I usually like a little more color, but held with the mohair, I think it's wonderful. Yeah, so like I said, just getting started on that. So not too much to share with you. And of course I have like 2 more new cast-ons, which is kind of crazy. I just can't stop casting on. So for a few podcasts now, I've been saying that I lost my sock mojo, but it's gotten cooler here in Boston, and it's been a little chilly in the apartment, and my feet are getting cold. So my sock mojo has returned, and it couldn't have been a more perfect time. So we went to Maine last weekend, and we went to Bar Harbor for the day, and they have a cute little yarn shop there called Bees Inc., I think. It's like a yarn shop and a candy store combined. So, of course, I had to pick up some yarn. So I'd been working on the Kobuck hat in Maine, and I was frustrated with it. And I had brought the weekender with me also, but I wanted something else small to knit in the car because my weekender is getting pretty big. And I wanted something in the car, and without my Kobuck hat, I didn't have anything else. So, of course, I had to get new yarn and new needles for a new project. So this is what we have. The beginnings of a sock. And not one, but 2 socks. Ta-da! 2 little baby socks. So yeah, I was really excited to find this yarn. The yarn store is fairly small. They don't have a huge selection, but they had some pretty cool sock yarn, and I really like the colors in these. They're kind of fallish or autumnal, if you will. But I really like that mint color, that robin's egg blue. That's my color. So yeah, this yarn is it's Andy's Socks, and it is 55% fine merino superwash, 20% alpaca, and 25% nylon. It's made in Peru. And this is the olive blue mix colorway. So there's the tag. I've never seen this yarn before, but I was excited to try something new. Again, here's the ball. So this is totally gonna come back to bite me in the butt, but I started this one, and I felt like I might get second sock syndrome just because I haven't knitted socks in a while. And yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I really like this colorway, and it's just a plain vanilla sock, but for some reason I was like, I can already feel second sock syndrome coming on. Wow, that's a tongue twister. So I had this brilliant idea to grab the other yarn in from inside the ball and start the second sock, because I knit the rib. I did a twisted rib stitch for about 1.5 inches, and these are on size 1 double pointed needles. So once I moved the first sock to my 9-inch circulars, I was like, well, my DPNs are free. I can just cast on the second sock and knit them concurrently. Is that the right word? Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'll be good until I get to the hill, and then at that point it could become a giant tangled mess. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it does not, but I just kind of predicting the future. But at that point, I'll already be at the hill, and I can just separate or cut the yarn and figure out whatever situation I have going on then. Yeah, so my other new whip is also a sock, which is just so crazy to me. I don't know what happened that I just knitting all the socks right now. So the reason I was inspired to knit this is because I've been messing around with dyeing yarn. Dyeing yarn is fun. I'm definitely not like an expert or even good at it by any means, but I love color, and it's just so much fun to see the yarn soak up the color, and I just like messing around. So I had an itch to kind of experiment a little, and I came up with this. It's really just it was mauve that I kept adding more and more mauve, and then I did just different speckles, like kind of jewel tones, like blues, and then some pops of like fluorescent fuchsia. Yeah, kind of just threw a little bit of everything in there. And I was really thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go, another dyeing experiment gone wrong, and I've wasted yarn. I'm not going to want to knit with it. But I actually, now that I've started knitting it, I really like how it's turning out. I feel like it's kind of fall without being over the top fall, just because it's got like the jewel tones in there. It's really speckly, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's just fun to dye yarn and then see how it knits up. And again, I did about 1.5 inches of twisted rib, 1x1 twisted rib. I'm loving twisted rib. I just love like the dainty little stitches it makes. I just think they're so cute. And yeah, so I'm also kind of experimenting with finding my perfect sock recipe. So the first pair I showed you, I cast on 60 stitches, and I did the ribbing on size 1 needles, and then switched to 1.5 9-inch circulars. And then this I cast on 64 stitches, and I just knit the whole thing on the US 1.5 9-inch circulars. I've already talked about my love affair with 9-inch circulars, and yeah, it's still happening. I just love these. I feel like I can knit socks so fast, or fast for me, much faster than Magic Loop or DPNs, for me at least. So yeah, that's what I've got so far. Nothing crazy, just a cute little beginning of a sock. Yeah, so you might notice that I have not talked about the Harlow hat that I was working on for my husband. It's literally this close to being done. I'm at the point where I'm decreasing, but so when I switched to DPNs to start the decreasing, I have a bad habit of like pulling it too tight when in between needles, so you don't get the laddering. Well, I'm knitting that out of Brooklyn Tweed Loft, and yeah, you can't pull too tight with that yarn because it will break, and it did. So out of frustration, I have set that aside because I had already been ripping out mohair, which was not fun. And then now, also something was funky with my decreases. I think I did too much knitting and drinking while we were in Maine. I do not suggest it. Yeah, it only leads to frustration. Yeah, so I had to also rip out brioche, just a couple of rows. And it's not fun. It's not as bad as you would think. I was terrified to do it, but it's actually, if you just concentrate on picking up the stitches and not the yarn overs, when you rip it out, it'll make your life so much easier. And then when you start knitting, then you can pick up the yarn overs. So yeah, it's not something that I'm just going to sit around doing for fun, like ripping out brioche, but if it needs to be done, I'm not as scared to do it now. So anyway, if that happens to you, have no fear. It can be done, and it's not the end of the world. So yeah, I'm going to finish that this week. It's just out of frustration, it got set aside, and I have not looked at it since. So last but not least, for my works in progress, I've got the Weekender, which is kind of just giant blob right now. So yeah, I've got pretty big. I've got the front and back knit. I've separated for the sleeves, and I've knit, I think, the front, and just bound off the front. This is like the neckline right here, and then the sleeve stitches on like scrap yarn, and then I've knit a couple rows into the back after separating. So yeah, this is going so quickly. I really don't feel like I've put that much time into this. Like, yeah, work's been crazy this week. And then in Maine, I didn't get that much knitting done. So I really feel like this is flying. I mean, it is worsted weight yarn, on size 9 needles, but guys, I'm like in love with this. I'm gonna have a sweater soon, and I can't wait. So, I mean, maybe when I get to the sleeves, it'll be a different story, but I don't think so. I think I'm still gonna be in love. So, yeah, this is the Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry. You guys have seen this or heard about this all too many times, I know. So I'm knitting this out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes tweed, and their down heather colorway. So this is the ball. Yeah, so I was excited to knit with this yarn because I like the fact that you can make a sweater for like under $40. And now I'm not gonna like force myself to wear something that's scratchy, but this really isn't that bad, and I'll be wearing something underneath it, and I just really have high hopes for this yarn. I think it's gonna hold up and feel okay. So if that's the case, I will be ordering more and knitting potentially all my winter sweaters out of this yarn. Although I do want a sweater out of some Brooklyn tweed. So I have no finished objects as far as knitting goes, but I do have a finished object for sewing. And it's this top that I have on. So as you can tell, I was feeling really inspired by Halloween. It's a little kind of gothic-y top, which I am just in love with. So this is the On Dee sweater by Deer and Doe Patterns. Here's the line drawing. So you have a couple of different options as far as like long sleeve or short sleeve, and with a collar or just a neckband. I did the long sleeve version with the collar. So I've made this once before, and I just love this pattern. If you're new to sewing, or if you're new to sewing with knits, I think this is just the perfect pattern. If you like crop tops, which I do, I think they're very versatile. So this top, I should start with, I don't know if you guys, if you have Netflix, you should check out the Curious Creations of Christine McConnell. So I love her. She is just awesome, beautiful, gorgeous, and creative, and she just makes so many amazing things. And she has a show on Netflix. It's just like maybe 5 or 6 episodes, and it just came out maybe a couple of days ago. But of course, I stayed up until 3 in the morning watching all of the episodes, and then I was like, had this idea in my head to make this, and I was just so excited. I could barely sleep. I got up at like 8 a.m. and just whipped this out this morning before the podcast. So, yeah, but that's just how easy this top is. So if you're new to sewing with knits, this is the perfect pattern. It's really like everything fits together so well. Sometimes I wind up with patterns where I'm like, the sleeve doesn't fit in the armhole or the arm, whatever that term is for the armhole. Yeah, so sometimes patterns that aren't like well written can be super frustrating. This one is not. Even the collar is easy. It's black, so it's not really showing up. Let me give you guys a closer look. Yeah, so I love collars, and after watching the Christine McConnell show, she's like very like 50s style, kind of Victorian um, style, and I was just so inspired to make something along those lines. And I had this fabric, which I will say, my God, this fabric is actually pretty horrible. I'm pretty sure I bought this when I first started sewing, and I was just ordering tons of stuff from fabric.com and not looking at fabric content. But I liked that it's quilted. I think that's really cool. And but I'm pretty sure this is 100% polyester. So this is one of those fabrics that you're gonna sweat in, and it's just not gonna feel good. But I'm thinking about wearing a shirt underneath it. It's actually, now that I've sewed it up and have it on, it's not that bad, but I can just tell that this was definitely something I bought before I really knew what I was doing. Not that I know what I'm doing now, but I know a little more. Yeah, so this embossed velvet I'm just in love with. So if you guys can see that, really the camera is not doing it justice, but that's really what inspired me to make this shirt, because I don't have a whole lot of this fabric left. I used this for my husband's Halloween costume a couple of years ago. He was okay, I'm having a complete like brain fart. Like the husband from the Addams Family. I was Morticia and he was the husband, and I made him like a smoking jacket, and I used kind of a maroon velvet, kind of the same color, and then I used this as the trim. And I just fell in love with this embossed velvet. It was very expensive, so I didn't get a whole lot of it, but I had just enough left where I was like, that's going to be a trim on something. It's going somewhere. So it has found its way into this shirt, and I could not be happier with it. I just put a little brooch here just to kind of spice things up a little bit. Yeah, so again, super quick make. It's very versatile. I think I can wear this with high-waisted skirts. I can wear it with like a longer shirt underneath and then over jeans, or even high-waisted jeans. I just like to, I feel like I like to mention like how I plan on styling things, just so you guys know, like, I don't know, I know crop tops aren't for everyone, or some of the things I sew aren't for everyone, but I tend to kind of like, I'll see things that I don't think are for me, but then when I see it styled different ways, I'm like, oh, I could totally wear that. That could totally find its way into my wardrobe. So yeah, I don't know. I always like to hear or see how other people style their clothes. Really, inspiration in any form is good for me. The only modifications I made for this pattern, because again, this pattern is pretty perfect for me. I did make these cuffs, I think about 3 inches. The pattern calls for them to be like a 1 inch or 1.5 inches, but I really just wanted to squeeze in as much of this velvet as I could. So I made them a little longer, a little more gothy. Yeah. Look at me feeling all fancy. So when we were at the yarn store in Maine, I picked up the sock yarn that I already showed you guys, and then I got some more mohair because I've been bitten by the mohair bug. This is just a really pretty navy blue. Yeah, it's gorgeous. This is by Ella Rae. It's called Silky Kid, and it's super kid mohair and silk. So here's the tag. Again, this is another new to me yarn. So I was excited to find it, and it was very budget friendly, only $13 for this, compared to the Shibui mohair, which is I think twice that much. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna make with this yet. It'll probably go in a hat, just because I kind of like this color next to my hair. I feel like I'm always putting yarn on my head in this podcast, but okay. So the thing I'm most excited about as far as what I've bought are these. And sorry for all the crinkly goodness, but maybe I'll just take them out so you can see. So these are pom-poms that I bought. I actually got these on Amazon. I think they were like $12 for 12 pom-poms, which is a pretty amazing deal. I did not have high expectations for these because they were so cheap, and I was thinking they're going to come in, they're going to be like shiny and fake looking, but they're really pretty awesome. So, and you get 2 of each color. There's 6 different colors. You get 2 of each color. And yeah, I bought these to go on my Cobalt cat when I was loving it in the beginning. But now one of these will make a home on the Bumble hat, and then 11 other hats. So I'm going to share these with my friend Alana, who just started knitting, because I don't need 12 pom-poms. I mean, I might, but I really don't. Okay, so you've got your standard white and black ones. Yeah, they're cool, but nothing super crazy. Then my personal favorites are these, like the more natural looking ones that look like real animal fur, but they're not real animal fur. So you've got this kind of tannish one, and then you've got this gray or black and gray one, which I really love. And then you've got like kind of like it's white, but with like little tinges of gray. I don't know if you can see that, but that one's really pretty. And then you've got kind of like a silvery one, which is also really pretty. So yeah, they actually had from the same company, like if you go on Amazon and search for like faux fur pom-poms for hats, so many will come up. And this brand even had like other cool ones, like pink ones if you want something a little more colorful. But yeah, so super happy with all of these, and I absolutely cannot wait to put these on a hat. Oh, and the cool thing is, I think this might be kind of like the thing that pom-pom makers are doing now, but I've never seen it before. It has a little, I don't know if you can see, a little elastic loop here. So you can sew a button to the inside of your hat and just loop this around it. So you can take the pom-pom on and off, which I think is super, super cool. Cause I don't know, maybe you don't always want, I was going to put this on my head. Maybe you don't always want a giant pom-pom on your head. Maybe you want something a little more refined sometimes. So you have options. So that's it for the main content of the podcast today. Last week I started a new thing where at the end I just kind of tell you what's been going on in my life. I'll find a clever name for this section soon. But anyway, yeah, so we went to Maine last weekend. I love Maine. It's gorgeous, and this is a great time of the year to go because it's cool, but it's not freezing, and the leaves are just beyond gorgeous. I tried to take pictures, and they just don't even do it justice. So I sent some to my dad, and I'm like, I swear, it's so much more beautiful than it shows up in pictures. I did get some nice pictures of the rocks. The rocks are very photogenic. But yeah, we just stayed in a little cabin out in like Harrington, Maine, which is about an hour away from Acadia. We had a good weekend, nice and relaxing, a lot of knitting. Yeah, other than that, I've just been, work's been crazy. So it's flu shot season, guys, and I work at a pharmacy. So please just keep me in your thoughts because work has just been just so busy. So yeah, sorry to talk about work. That's not interesting, but yeah, so next weekend we're going to New Jersey to visit my husband's family. So I've been with my husband for 7 years, and he has an uncle that I've never met. His aunt and uncle lived in Alaska for a while, and usually his aunt would come down, but the uncle would never come down. So they're both coming down next weekend, and I'll get to meet him for the first time. So that's super exciting. And we always have a good time in Jersey, hang out with my in-laws, and they're just really always show us a good time. Yeah, so that's about it. I'll get some more car knitting done. Dramamine. Oh my gosh. I took Dramamine on the way to Maine, and it is a lifesaver. I usually get car sick and can't get much car knitting done, but the less drowsy version of Dramamine is a lifesaver. I got so much car knitting done, and it's the only thing that makes the drive bearable for me because I hate getting stuck in traffic. I'm so impatient. So yeah, I'm gonna Dramamine it up again this weekend and hopefully finish off the weekender and maybe a couple of other things. Yeah, so anyway, thanks so much for watching. Sorry if it's been a little rambly, but yeah, it's Sunday fun day. So I hope you're having fun on this Sunday, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.